I'm going to show you how to make the hexagonal bag from Kreative Kiwi. For this I'm going to be using a 5x7 hoop, 2 layers of wash-away stabiliser, a matching bobbin and thread throughout, some T-pins, some masking tape, my squizzers, my fabrics and batting cut to size. I've also got a little strap that I've made, a keyring fob, and a lace zip. You'll find a link to this design in the video description below. If you would like to win Kreative Kiwi loyalty points to the value of this design, then just keep on watching as details will be given further on in the video. If you're using a traditional hoop, we're going to start off by hooping our stabiliser, so place it over the outer frame, insert the inside one, and then we're going to pin around the top edge of our hoop to prevent our stabiliser from being pulled down between the frames. So take your pin, place it on top of the inside frame, push it through your stabiliser, bring it round and back through the stabiliser again, and that will anchor it. You're going to do that on all 4 sides, and the larger your hoop, the more pins you will use. And our hoop's now ready to use. If you're using a magnetic hoop, place your 2 layers of wash-away stabiliser over the frame. Take your top and bottom magnets and place them first, and I just pull lightly on the stabiliser just so that there's no wrinkles, and then snap it in place, and be careful of your fingers because it will bite. And then we're going to do the sides. You just gently pull it out . And your hoop is now ready to use. Load the file lace zip bag into your machine along with your thread colour. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 1, and that's going to give you a placement outline for your batting. And I'm going to be going with blue throughout. Place your batting over the outline and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 2 to secure it. Trim away the excess batting from around the edge of the stitch lines, taking care not to cut your stitches. We're going to be placing our fabric for this area here, but we're not going to place it over the outline. We're going to place it upside down, so the wrong side facing up, and we want this raw edge to come this side of this stitch line here. And tape it in place. Turn your hoop over, and we're going to do the same on the back. And we're doing the front this time first because it's easy to see through the stabiliser, and you can lay your backing, or your lining fabric should I say, because that's what we're going to be putting on the back. through the stabilizer. So again, place your fabric face down and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 3 to secure them. We're going to trim down this a little bit just to leave about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to do the same on the back. And then we're going to flip our fabric up and tape it in place. And we're going to do the same on the front. I'm just going to finger press that slightly, just so that it sits nice and flat. And then you're going to pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 4, and that's going to secure around the edges of the top. We're now going to quilt this area here, so make sure that you've got your thread colour for that loaded into your machine, and then stitch round number 5. We're now going to do the same with this area here. So place your fabric face down, and you want this raw edge, this side of this stitch line here. I think I'm going to position that like this and then flip it over like that. I get better positioning of the little owls doing it that way. Okay, so we're now going to tape it in place. Turn your hoop over, and we're going to do the same on the back. So take your front lining fabric, place it face down with the raw edge this side of this stitch line here, and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 6, and that will stitch along here and secure the 2 fabrics to the hoop. We're going to do the same with the bottom, so we're going to place our front fabric for here, wrong side up, so that this raw edge falls this side of this stitch line here, and tape it in place. Turn your hoop over, and with your lining fabric we're going to do exactly the same. So face down with this raw edge this side of the stitch line here, and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 6 to secure it. As we did previously, we're going to trim up some of the excess fabric along here, leaving about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, both back and front. And then we're going to pull our fabric down and tape it in place. Do the same on the front. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 7, and that's going to secure the edges of both fabrics. Load your thread colour for the quilting of this area here into your machine, and then stitch round number 8, and I'm staying with the blue. Next we're going to add our zipper, and you really do need a nylon zipper for this. Make sure that this bit's nylon. It doesn't matter about this bit, the little pull there, but you do need the actual zip itself to be nylon. And you're going to place the center of your zip on top of that stitch line there. And then you're going to secure it in place. And I'm going to place some sellotape over the actual zip here, and it's going to stitch through that, and that's going to hold everything nice, flat and in position. Okay, pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 9, and that's going to stitch along the bottom side of the zip and secure it in place. Just check that you're happy with the alignment of the zip, and if you are, you're then going to stitch round number 10, and that's going to secure the other side of it. Before we go any further, we must open our zipper, because if we don't, it will make it very difficult to turn it later. So I've opened that up, and I'm just going to put a little bit of tape just to hold that metal piece from sliding around all over the place. Okay, we just want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with any of the stitching going around that's going to go along around here. Okay, I'm just going to place my tape back down there just to hold that in place as well, because we don't want these bits slipping around either. Okay. If you want to add any hardware, and I'm just adding a little lobster claw, now's the time to do so. So place it wherever you want it on your bag, and you want to place it so that the tab is facing inwards towards the zip. And make sure that if you've got any metal pieces, that they're out of the way of the stitch line, and tape it in place. Next, we're going to place our backing fabric, and you're going to place it face down over the top of the front of the bag. So you've got the wrong side facing up, and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 11, and that's going to secure our backing fabric in place. We're now going to add our lining fabric. So turn your hoop over, But before we do, we're just going to trim out this area here of the stabilizer. And it's just the stabilizer we want to cut, nothing else. We can now place the backing for our lining. So place it face down over the top, making sure that you cover the whole of the outline, and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 12, and that's going to secure your lining fabric to the hoop, and it's going to leave a gap so that we can turn everything in a minute. So we're going to be freeing our work from the hoop, but before we do, I'm just going to cut these off to a more reasonable length while we do that. So just trim those edges off. Okay, so we can now free our work from the hoop. So I'm just going to take my pins out. And before we do anything else, we're going to trim up around the edge, leaving a good 1/4 inch seam allowance and a little bit more where our opening is, which is here. Okay. And this is why it's important that you have a nylon zip, because we're going to be cutting straight through it with our scissors. And I'm going to leave more here so that when I turn it out the right way, I've got plenty to tuck in when we stitch up the gap. So I'm going to leave about, I don't know, 3/4 inch, maybe, not even that. Okay, so we're now going to turn this out the right way. You might want to snip your corners towards the stitch line so that it turns nicely and lays nice and flat. Only need to do it on the corners. Just make sure you don't cut your stitch line, because if you do, you're going to have to stitch it on your sewing machine. So let's turn it out the right way. And this is why it was important that you open your zip here so that we can turn it out the right way completely. But before we do all that, we need to fold this in and stitch it up. And we're going to hand stitch that. I'm just going to get a needle and thread. Okay. Let's just push these corners out for a minute so that they're nice and neat. And I can make sure that everything's placed nicely. Let's fold that in. Take our needle and thread and just stitch up this gap. And you would probably want to use a thread colour that blends in with your fabric. I'm just using blue so that you can see what I'm doing. Bear in mind that I can't see what I'm stitching either, so this is going to be a bit hit and miss, but if it turns out awful, I'll do it again off of camera. Okay, so it's competition time. If you would like to win Kreative Kiwi loyalty points to the value of this design, like, subscribe and share this video to support this channel, and tell me what you're going to put inside your little hexagonal bag. This competition will close 6 p.m. Central European Time +1 on Sunday the 6th of April, and a winner will be picked at random from all the valid entries, so be sure to check back and see if it's you. Good luck and thanks for taking part. I'm just going to run this end underneath the fabric. And snip it off. And we can now open this up and turn it out the right way. And push our corners out all nice and neat. This edge probably isn't going to form a perfect point, obviously, because I've got this attached to it, so I expected that anyway. Okay, so I'm going to give this a press and then I'll show you how it's turned out when it's all nice and neat. So there's the back, and here's the inside, all fully lined and neat. You can see there's no raw edges, and you can barely see my awful stitching where I joined that gap. So there we have it, our little hexagonal bag all finished. I hope you enjoyed this stitch along. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to be notified of new videos as soon as they're published. Do pop along to Kreative Kiwi's Facebook group. There's always lots of ideas, help and inspiration there for everybody. And thank you very much for joining me. You'll find a link to this design in the video description below, along with lots of other information such as where I get my supplies and some discount codes for you as well. Take care, and I hope to see you next time.